What's happening, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back to Junk Drummer TV, where I give my analysis, my initial reactions, and my hot takes on the drummers of today and yesterday, and maybe tomorrow if I stick around that long. I am a professional drum teacher and a gigging musician, and I have been for the last 20 years. On today's episode, we're going to be watching Travis Barker of Blink-182 play Dammit. Now, I'll just be honest. I don't know that much about Travis Barker. My biggest exposure to him is my students. You know, he's kind of that next generation of drum god. You know, that drummer that you see in all the ads in the drummer magazines. But over the last 10 or 15 years, I've had many students come in and want to learn Blink-182 songs. And that's when I have to kind of switch gears and remember being a punk rock drummer in high school. I was a big punk rock kid when I was in high school. I was around for that second wave of punk rock, which was, of course, in the 90s. I was all in on that stuff. By the time that Blink-182 came around, which was kind of the third wave of punk rock music, that was, Sum 41, New Found Glory, Bowling for Soup. I was, out of the scene. I was in college by then. So I kind of missed a lot of what Travis Barker does. I've seen a lot of video of him playing. There's a really cool video of him playing a marching snare drum in the studio, and he's just destroying it. So, that being said, let's get into it. Looks like they're in an airplane hangar. Yep, that's how I want my punk rock. Loud, fast, and fashion. Okay, so like right here, he's kind of doing like a, flashy stick trick type thing. When I was younger, I was really down on that stuff. I was, right out of music school and, a drum purist. And I just thought that stuff was kind of trite and cheesy. And it can be, but if you ever have the chance to be in a band that actually has fans, and I kind of am in that now, you realize more and more that you're there to entertain. Yes, you're of course there to operate your drums in the highest manner that you can. But man, you're there to entertain, and you're there to, show off a little bit. So as I've gotten older, I'm cool with these stick trick, flashy drummer moves like this. Now, that being said, we've all seen the drummer at the wrong gig, and that dude's whack. Because he's playing a cover song, and he's in a sequence jacket. That's different. This is cool. I'm down for it. The band's just singing this song right back to him. That's cool. So right here, you can tell right off the bat how good Travis is, because he is writing with his left hand. He's showing some ambidexterity there. Back to the stick tricks. Anytime I hear good punk rock, it makes me feel like I'm 17 again, practicing with my punk band. Okay. So look right here. This is a very effective compositional technique if you're in a punk band. Those first two verses were in double time, right? So when we're thinking double time, we're thinking the snare drums on the ands, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and right here during this is the chorus, I think. They've taken it back down to regular. I call it regular time or single time, just so my student knows what I'm talking about. But anytime I refer to single time or regular time, I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's just a way to, express what I'm talking about to my students. But what they're doing right here is that those first two verses were all, double time, and it's a lot of kinetic energy. But then right here during the chorus, they're dropping it back down to to just 2 and 4, and that gives the song a sense of like breathing. You know, punk rock's fast, man. It's super fast, and you know, if you want to have a sense of like a release, you bring it back down to regular time, as I call it, and that's what's happening right here. Just riding the shit out of that ride cymbal. Remember, any cymbal hit hard enough can be a ride cymbal. Any crash cymbal hit light enough can be a ride cymbal. Look, this video looks like it was either taken by a fan backstage or a roadie. Okay, so here is one thing that I've noticed as a drum teacher, and I think most drum teachers would notice this. Travis Barker's a little bit of the Adele of drum set. I know that sounds really weird, but stay with me. At one of my studios that I teach at, we have vocal teachers there. And when Adele came out, you know, everyone loved those records, and I love those records too. But every one of those vocal teachers kept saying, Adele has terrible technique. Mark my words, she's going to have problems. And like, as just a non-vocalist, I didn't really care, because those songs and those records are great. She's amazing. But then eventually she did have vocal problems, and she had to have like a surgery, and she was off the road for a long time. Travis Barker's got some, in my opinion, technique issues. And I'll use this as a chance to kind of teach the technique that I always teach. I am a huge proponent of the bounce stroke, which is throwing the stick down onto the surface and letting it bounce back up. So when I do that, I'm doing 50% of the work. I am throwing the stick down, I'm letting gravity work. Every action, there's a equal reaction. The reaction is bouncing the stick back up. So by doing that, it allows you to play in a very efficient manner. So when I'm playing, I'm only throwing the stick down, I'm letting it bounce back up. Travis, my man Travis here, who's great, and I'll have a disclaimer after this huge explanation, is doing all the work. He's throwing the stick down and he's picking it back up. So when he's playing 16th notes, he's doing this. And he's picking the stick back up. The way that I teach and the way that I was taught in college, shout out to Tom Shriver, who was my main professor in college. He taught this stroke. This was his way of doing it. Was throwing the stick down and just letting it bounce back up. And by doing that, you're also dispersing the shock from the stick. When you're playing the way that he's playing, you're holding the stick really tight like this way, and you're picking the stick up this way. Every time you play, he's picking the stick up. He's doing more work than he needs to. Now, I do have empirical evidence why this is a bad thing. Travis Barker was on Joe Rogan a couple months ago, and at the very beginning of that interview, he talks about, like, at his age and at the stage of his career, he doesn't really want to think about his technique. But he also does this. Go back and watch that video. It's at the very beginning of that Rogan vid. He goes, like, his wrists are popping, and he just does that. That's not good. I'm 42, which means he's probably close to 50. You shouldn't be having those problems, and I think, in my opinion, that he's having that wrist clicky thing happen because he's using bad technique. Bad technique can hurt you. Look up Morgan Rose and look up David Silveria. Those two guys had drum injuries from questionable technique. Now, if that being said, anything practiced enough coupled with talent, you can still play really good. Travis Barker's still an amazing drummer. He just plays with some jacked up technique, in my opinion. Back to the bridge. You know, this is a good, oh, a little double stroke thing there. I don't know if he played in marching band, but I know I watched that one video where he's playing the marching snare, and that dude's got good rudimental chops. Yeah, man, I want my punk rock drumming loud, fast, and awesome, and that's what this is. Trash can ending, everybody. Go ahead. Oh yeah, dude. All that crossover stuff. I'm down. I'm down. You know, this wasn't the punk rock that I grew up on, but Travis Barker's a badass drummer. Okay. So, Travis Barker with Blink-182. You know, this video's not very long because that song's not very long, and that's how I want my punk rock. Fast and short and to the point. Travis Barker, he's a good drummer. Don't mimic his technique, but mimic his playing if you're into that style. So, if you enjoyed all that, please give me a double tap on the subscription and the notification bell. Feel free to comment, like, and share. And remember, keep practicing until it's easy.